Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Open Money on Blog Talk Radio. I'm Ernie Jacob. The other guy in the Comox Valley with me is Michael Linton, and we're waiting for Collin Ferguson to call in from Portland. We're going to be talking about the Portland Community Way, and here comes Collin.
Yep.
Okay. Hello, Collin. I'm just introducing the show, saying that we're going to be talking about Community Way and Open Money in Portland, and you're with Cascadia Commons. Michael and I are with we're the meme team, right, Michael?
Yeah, we're the meme people.
No, that's
the
meme
people
team.
of the meme. People of the meme.
People of the peeps. Okay, so Collin, let's start with a brief update on what you've been working on in Portland, and you've sent us a list of questions that people in Portland have come up with for us to answer if we can. And so we'll go with that after your intro.
Absolutely. Well, we've had a lot of very interesting updates here in the city of Portland. I guess the biggest news of it all is now that we now have close to 15 participants all wanting to work on the Community Way project here in Portland and begin a study of how it could potentially benefit the city and support nonprofit projects, as well as being a economic multiplier in the city of Portland. So there are some very interesting discussions around that. We are in process of applying for a Vision into Action grant. The application is due here in 2 weeks, but we have some very excellent people on the team, including Matthew Chase of the Regional Arts and Culture Council, who has agreed to help us write the grant application. He has many years' experience in that field, so it's wonderful to have him on the team. And we also have his name is Rod Walker from Altus Consulting. They do modeling. We were pointed in his direction from Professor Wayne Wakeland at Portland State University, who is the systems science professor there. And he's going to help us put together a game for a Community Way launch, which would happen later this year. And Rod is very well, has a great background. He's worked for Intel, HP, Compaq, great guy. So we're hoping to get him on board and getting him interested in the program. And so that's the biggest news. This Friday I also have some meetings that are going to be very interesting. I have a meeting with Bill Bradbury, who is a very likely gubernatorial candidate for the state of Oregon in 2010. And then a meeting with Jules Copel-Bailey, district rep for Southeast Portland, who mentioned that the topic of local currencies has come up on the state legislature, and therefore he's interested in the Community Way program. And then Cynthia Kirk of the Oregon Cultural Trust, which does fundraising for the arts in the state of Oregon. So we have some great folks that have come on board, and possibly some very influential characters who will really give the Community Way program the momentum it needs to become an impactful player here in Oregon and possibly the rest of the Northwest.
Wow, that's terrific. I really like the idea of 15 people ready to go to work on Community Way.
Yes, I definitely do too. The more help, the merrier.
Indeed. I should let people know that if anybody wants to join us or comment, question, they can call in. It's free in the US of A, 646-716-9424. And there's a chat on the Blog Talk Radio site. and people can type their Q&A. So shall we jump to is that it in terms of what you want to say about what's happening in Portland, Collin? Shall we jump to the questions now?
Well, there are, of course, many other things going on, but I think we can address those at a later time. Perhaps let's do this. Let's go through the questions, and then with any time extra, I can go with some extra updates that we have going on. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think that's the best plan. For a start, we get the questions out of the way, but they'll keep coming back. None of these questions has a one-time answer, really. So clearing the context and getting things going would be the first place to go, I think. So
yeah. Okay.
Shall I just run at that, eh?
Yeah, let's just do it. Let's do this. Okay, so Michael, yesterday we talked about what we would do for the show, and I requested that we do kind of a fire drill, if you will, of several questions. I have a total of 30 questions for you, and you got to see those questions yesterday. And so I just wanted to run them by you. So here's the first set of questions, and I guess for sake of time, we want to keep the answers to 90 seconds or shorter. So here's the first question. What problem are you trying to solve?
The money problem. Basically, the problem with money is very familiar. Check it out for yourself. Whenever you spend it, it's gone. It may be your money when it's in your wallet or your bank account or under your bed or wherever you think you've got it safe. But as soon as you spent it, it's gone. And it's gone out into a very wide world, and nothing that you throw into that world is going to show up as a pressure for your income. You cannot spend yourself into employment. With conventional money, the money's gone. That's the problem. That's the one we're trying to address. The simple response is to create monetary networks where the money you spend goes round and comes back. Closed loop, recirculatory monies. There's a variety of forms. They can be hard types, coinages. They can even be merchant coupons. All sorts of processes can create a circulating currency, loyalty system.
Michael, you've already jumped to number 3. This is a fire drill.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
You've already answered the first question, which is what problem are you trying to solve? The problem of money.
We got 15 seconds too.
All right, well, we've done that. So why is it important? Well, everywhere I look at the moment, people are whining about money. There isn't any. It's in the wrong places. It all went out in the spending package by Congress, Senate, or whoever is in charge of your particular country. Quantitatively, the more we can create recirculatory currencies in our communities, the more we can rebuild the fabric of community that has the potential for surviving the next couple of decades. And quantity, yeah, bigger is better here. So get real, get large. Go for the big ones. We've got to make a big difference here. Can't just do this at a penny ante level. Number 3.
Well, actually, I want to interject that in there because your answer fits in to the million in a billion challenge. Presumably, and that's the whole point of community, or not the whole point of Community Way, but the idea here is that a Community Way project can easily raise $1 million in $1 billion economy. So what's the economy in Portland? What's the economy in Vancouver? Vancouver, it's around 40-50 billion, so that's 40-50 million for good works in the region.
Okay, question number 3. How do you propose to address the problem? Maybe that's deleted.
Provide a platform that allows communities at large, individuals within them, individual businesses, to implement community currencies. As simply as on Facebook, you can introduce a new Facebook group. As easily as on Google, you can start a new Google group. There should be a capacity in Portland to start a new money group, perhaps for a whole sector of Portland, perhaps for one neighborhood, perhaps for the gay community in one section of downtown, perhaps for the Chinese community in another. There will be thousands of currencies in Portland, and the Open Money platform is the facility for all of that. That'll do for that.
Question number 4. Why is this the best answer?
I don't know if it is.
What other alternatives have been explored?
Well, that's your problem, not ours. You can explore as many alternatives as you like, and in fact, we recommend you do. We're not offering alternatives. We're saying, here's something you can do. Take it or leave it. You want some free money or don't you? I don't propose it as the answer to absolutely everything, just to a hell of a lot of the problems that are embedded in conventional money. And we're not into a competition of this is better than that. What we're saying is, why on earth wouldn't anybody do this? You can do anything else you like, and we're not going to pass judgment on whether this beats that or that is better than the other. It's just, we've got a community way model, we've got open money. Do you want it? Next question.
Yes, and when he says we've got community way and we've got open money, what he means by that is everybody does. This is free, open source, open source.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
How much will it cost?
Right.
Well, technically it doesn't cost anything. It generates revenue. It's what do you call it, an exothermic reaction. It produces its own heat. If you do this thing right, it costs you nothing. It generates income, revenue, resources. Now, to start it up, well, again, that's a question of how many matches do you throw at a pile of tinder, or is your pile of firewood already soaked in gasoline, in which case you just blow a spark at it and you're away. The bottom line for starting this is somewhere between 10,000 and 50,000 would be a reliable startup scale of underwriting. But frankly, you could start tomorrow with $42 if you went about it in the right way. So cost, forget it. Get a toe in the door, get a wedge in the process, and start ramping it up. It will pay.
And that initial outlay, that investment, comes back. Anybody that puts time, money, energy, resources into developing a community way project, working on one or an open money, which is essentially the same thing, will at least get their investment back, and probably more.
There you go. So now there's a transition. How long before it produces results?
Well, under certain structural arrangements, if you get it going, it produces results before it starts. But in what I'd say a more conservative startup, where you just go out on the community and solicit business participation, it might be a 3 or 4 week warm-up to the point where you could declare the availability of this system, the initial contributions by the initial founding businesses, and realize the first revenues from the registration process, where the businesses pay the development groups for their action. That, in fact, could be 3-4 weeks. More realistically, you should sort of give yourself, say, a 2-month horizon to seeing substantial income. My guess is that if you're at all competent, you'll be in positive cash flow, including debt repayment, inside 3 months.
Wow.
And it can happen even faster than that. I mean, suppose there are a small group of smart, influential business people in Portland who have a look at Community Way and see that, number one, it's the best damn loyalty program businesses have ever seen. Number two, it raises a ton of money for good works in the community. And that money comes back to those businesses as paying customers. And not only that, the businesses have issued a business-backed community currency that continues to circulate within the community, creating common wealth. Now, if there's a smart group of business people, or even one smart business person who sees that and gets a few of her or his buddies together and does it, it can happen overnight. And then on top of that, if they got, let's say they talked to some people in at Portland City Hall, like the new mayor, and said, hey, why don't you guys buy some of this stuff so that the development group can go out and buy equipment. Can be done overnight, within a week, let's say.
Okay. So how much improvement to the original problem is expected over what period of time?
Well, any improvement is.
Hello?
Collin, you lost him. Michael, we lost you there for a moment. You're breaking up. Collin, are you there?
I'm still here. Do you want to continue? Can you want to continue with that question, Ernie?
Yes. Why don't Michael? Can you hear us? You're breaking up. So I'm going to try and continue with the questions until you make your way back in, I guess. Collin, you hear me okay?
Yep, I hear you great. So the question was, how much improvement in the original problem is expected over what period of time?
Oh, well, again, that's, the original problem being a lack of money in the community. And with Community Way, it can be done, like I say, it could be done within a week, or as Michael suggested, within 6 to 8 weeks of startup to positive cash flow. So, how much improvement is that's an open-ended kind of thing. How much interest is there in your community in developing commonwealth, creating new forms of business and association and convivial trading? Eventually we see that there will be at least a 10% improvement in economic activity in the community, at least 10%.
Yeah, that's our
other end.
Sorry, I'm back. If anybody noticed I'd left, my line went down, but it's come back.
Yeah, it was breaking up, Michael.
Okay, well, is it solid again?
Yep, it's good.
Clear.
Okay. I think Arnie just gave you the 10% figure. And that's our bottom line, how can you lose level of analysis. If your business or your community is making it at the moment at any level with conventional money, then adding in community currency should improve your situation by at least 10% in all the primary numbers. That is the local gross domestic product, for instance, or the sales in your business, or your baseline income, or whatever. You're looking for a 10% shift, and you will get it if you get on with it. Anyway,
wonderful.
Next question.
Okay. Next question. What assumptions are you making? For example...
Well, just a minute. I needed the key risks. What are the key risks?
Okay, what are the key risks? Yeah, that's right.
The usual suspects. Apathy, ignorance, stupidity. It's not the things you don't know that matter. It's the things you think you know that are dead wrong. Those are going to be the biggest impediments to the process. Functionally, there are no risks apart from not doing it. Not doing it is an assured risk. If you get on with it and pay attention to the primary issues, which we'll discuss when we get into the details of Community Way, there should be no problems at all. But you can expect a certain amount of...
In business terms, it's known as an opportunity risk.
Yeah. Well, opportunity cost of missing an opportunity. What's the cost of not catching that bus? The train is about to leave a station. Are you going to be on it or not? And there are costs associated with missing the lift.
That's a good strategy to talk to. All right. Okay, so now what assumptions are you making? Business conditions, government support, etc.
Regarding government support, we make absolutely no assumptions. In fact, if anything, we make the assumption that whereas government can be useful, it would be really ridiculous to base any dependence upon continuity, constancy of government. Governments can be helpful in this process, but as additional efforts. They can be changers, fronters in the conversion of the community currency on behalf of the development project and the charities and beneficiary groups involved. They cannot be issuers. And whatever part they take, the project should be careful to be independent of their erratic behavior. So we do not make any assumptions about government except that they're really nice people if they come along in our direction, and we're not bothered if they don't. For businesses, it's very straightforward. Show me a business that doesn't want to make some more money. That's our possibility. Join into this network. It's the strongest loyalty system you've ever seen. It brings in customers. It handles corporate social responsibility beautifully. What's your problem? So those are the assumptions, and that's where we go with it.
Fantastic. Okay, so now these next set of questions are from the Vision into Action group. And they're basically going to expand upon what we've already talked about, but they're asking more, kind of what are the more specific results of the program. So we'll start with the first question, and each one has 100 seconds. With Community Way, how do businesses use their innovation and independence to become environmentally, socially, and economically sustainable?
Well, you've got to make a distinction here between the wish list, the moral behavior, the what will we do with this toy, and what the toy is itself. Community Way is fundamentally agnostic to purpose. Community Way is a systemic approach to circulating money, virtual money created by the community. Now, we do not presume to say that what people should do with this or even how they will deal with it. What we say is that money that moves around is good. It's an opportunity. And when communities, businesses in general, the public start moving this money around, it will do them good. If they add to that environmental, social issues, that's their choice. But that's a moral choice, not ours. So the basic answer I'd say is, how do businesses use Community Way? They use Portland dollars. Community Way is just a method of relating charitable and corporate support to community currencies. And to do it, that's it. Whether you apply it sustainably, whether you apply it socially, environmentally, that's up to you, not our department.
Excellent. Okay. So now the next question is, how do businesses reflect their community's values and help define and support their unique local identities?
They should use Portland dollars. Next question.
Next question. All right, great. Next question. How do Portlanders support and protect the viability of local businesses to enhance the feeling of community, preserve the uniqueness of neighborhoods, and allow for creativity among Portlanders?
Very good question. Use Portland dollars.
Well, let's talk about how would using those Portland dollars produce the feeling of community, the uniqueness of neighborhoods, the creativity among Portlanders?
Well, by segregation and fragmentation.
Let me answer this one, Mike.
Okay, you do it.
I just want to. I think the key to this. Well, there are two things. One is that what we're talking about with recirculating community currencies, especially mutual credit currencies, they are convivial by nature as opposed to competitive. the normal approach with money is the most for the least, whereas with community currencies, it's the most for the most, and everybody wins, especially the community, and this is how we build common wealth, is through having our own monies circulating within our communities.
Yeah, it's the goes around, comes around cycle. The difference between this money and conventional money is you get what you reap, or you reap what you sow. Let's get it that way around. What you put out is what's going to show back. And you could almost say it's the same in conventional money. If you're a rapacious exploiter, you will rapaciously exploit. Well, this one's different. Community money is convivial, collaborative, and when you spend it, it goes around and comes back. So small networks, neighborhood, region, locality, it just creates a form of neo-tribalism that isn't the ancient Balkan tribal system, like I'm in my tribe and I hate yours. It's not like that at all. It's about how many communities can we be vital participative parties to. So use the money. That's the basic answer. That's how you protect the viability.
Great. Okay, so then the next question, how do commercial, industrial, and other businesses actively create local jobs while connecting to regional and global economies?
Guess what? You spend it, you're employing local. The local are spending. It's get the money moving, get the wagons in a circle, the old line, get the money in a circle. Move it around. This thing about U.S. Steel and protectionism and whether the provisions of the bailout system are going to infringe upon America's position as a leader in free markets. Ha, ha, ha. I'm all in favor of the U.S. spending their steel money on U.S. steel mills. Localize. Get the money moving where it is. This business of being subordinate to the globalization of credit and cheapest from the other side of the planet, that's nonsense. And spending local is the issue. Get the money moving.
And that speaks to the viability of local businesses. It's very difficult to operate a small local business, even in good times. Right. And now, with the way things are going, it's going to be a hell of a lot tougher. Well, and one of the things that businesses could look at is how some communities dealt with the last Great Depression. Right? They created their own currencies. Makes sense to me. Indeed. Okay, so then how do local governments, businesses, and educational institutions prepare all Portlanders for quality jobs while using Community Way?
I think follow the leaders, frankly. All Portlanders could prepare local governments, businesses, and educational institutions rather better than the other way around. I think this is, come on, you guys get on with it. Don't wait for local governments to do anything except watch carefully. Businesses will jump in as they see the benefits, and you don't have to rely upon their preparation or engagement. They become assumed into the process. Educational institutions, well, I've always had opinions about the academic process, and I look forward to them being confounded.
Well, and my response is we've had experience with all of these governments, businesses, and educational institutions. And interestingly, when we had a Community Way project here in the Comox Valley, there were several schools that were given donations of Community Way dollars by businesses in the community. And we thought that they would jump all over it. I mean, if here's an entry for people, young people in school to learn about community currencies. Mm-hmm. And and it engages them in the process of raising money for the school, for theater, for music, for sports, for equipment, all kinds of things. And they didn't do a thing with it. They didn't have a clue. However, the idea that young people can learn about money, how it works and how it doesn't work, I mean conventional money, as well as community currencies, well, there's a huge homeschooling movement out there. And I would expect them to pick up on these ideas way before the institutions do. Ditto with governments.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's education, educate yourself. Governments, follow the leaders, business, get on the bandwagon. But the Portlanders are the people who are going to lead this, not those institutions. They're based in history and habit and tradition.
Well,
so
there are a lot of Portlanders here who actually, believe that strongly follow that principle that the government works for them. So
jolly good.
Yep. Okay. So here's the final question for this section. How does Community Way allow for equitable access to both quality education and the supports we need to succeed, earn a living wage, and fully utilize our differing abilities and talents?
Well, let's invert that. How does conventional money allow for equitable access to quality education, supports, living wage, and fully utilized? Eh?
Yeah, do it.
Right. Well, there's your question answered. Basically, that stuff doesn't do it. This stuff can. It doesn't do it absolutely. I mean, it's not like, start community way, start community currency, start open money, and you will have equitable this and access to the other. No, those are, again, moral, social, political decisions. You do what you do with this money. But looking at what you can do with community money versus what you can't do with the hard stuff, it's no contest. Just, when you're drowning, it's a good idea to get out of the water, or at least get your head above it.
Right. Okay.
And we need to point out that it's not either or. I mean, this is adding community currencies to the other stuff. I mean, it's like hamburger helper in the beginning. You're just adding something that adds value, flavor, velocity, etc. It enables people to make more money, like earn a living wage. I mean, if there's more money in the community and people are being paid to do work, then everybody's wages will be lifted eventually. And in terms of being able to utilize different abilities and talents, well, think about it in terms of the unused abilities and talents and resources that sit idle in the community right now. I mean, people who are, sitting around watching television or playing around on the internet because
or doing a job they don't want to do,
or doing a job. But even those, but I'm talking about the ones that are idle, who don't have enough work, but they have the skills, the resources, the talents to work, and they want to work. It's not like people don't want to work. I mean, they want to work at good stuff, not shitty stuff, but still. And if there's more and when there's more money in the community, it means more people can go to work. And not only do they go to work on useful things, needful things in the community.
All right. Well, okay. So let's get to the next section of questions here. And these are going to have to be short answers. These have to do with Community Way. Michael, I just wanted to let you know that this morning I changed the order of some of them, but this is all the information. All these questions come off the London site, so you should know the answers. So the first question is, how do lenders...
Well, actually, no, I'm going to do these questions the other way up.
Okay.
It's, I think they're good questions, but I think it's better to start from the big picture and roll into the detail. The detail emerges from the context. So I'm actually going to start with number 30 on your system and go backwards through them in that direction.
Okay. Let's do that.
Because let's get the context together.
So
you up for that?
That's great. All right, that sounds good. Okay, so what are the downsides, if any, of running Community Way without the intention of transitioning into open money or less?
Eternal perdition. You will rot in hell. Community Way is a commons. It's an expression of what is available inside this context of money as a social agreement amongst consenting parties. By commons, I mean this is as free as air, and anybody who was found guilty of enclosing the air supply get a bad rap. The same thing will apply here. You've got to position your Community Way initiative as a demonstration of the power and capacity and value of open money, and thereby not only legitimize its position, you also step away from any risk of being seen as a toll booth, an enclosed garden, a walled garden, a territory, a profiteering process. So, no, I mean, it's perfectly possible for people to run a form of Community Way, merchant coupons, discounted back, and whatever. But if they're just doing it for their own closed loop ratifications, justifications, best interests on a small scale, it will bite them back later. You've got to approach this in its own terms. It'd be like going to high tension cable to power up your laptop. The high tension will fry your laptop. There's a similar situation here. The energy that will be released by open money would leave somebody who was trying to manipulate the process extremely badly positioned.
Right. Okay. Well, so then that transitions into the next question. How will Community Way self-evolve into open money, or will that require direct intervention?
It will. It simply is open money from the onset, and it will benefit from direct application and presentation. It's not a hands-off process, but it's very close to it. So I think it's sort of answered in a way by my response to question 30, which is go into the process with the clear understanding that you're offering a simple model as a demonstration of what the full model does. It's like I've introduced the piano. You've never seen a piano before. I play you chopsticks. Ding, 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 right? Is that the end of the deal? I hope not, right? So this is like we're demonstrating an instrument here. The instrument is open money. The tune is Community Way. How do you like it?
Okay.
Oh.
So then question 28, is open money essentially a new term for less? If not, how is open money similar or different from less?
They're mutually recursive. It's a wheel within wheels, if you like. A let system, and here I'm being specific about let system versus the general term lets, which has become applicable to almost anything that you like. Although, as a general concept, lets is a mutual credit, some up, some down, the opportunity to issue. It's a permission space. It's let's get this show on the road. Let's create a recirculating currency amongst our community membership, whatever. Now, let's as a singular idea is a wheel. You can make a big wheel, you can make a little wheel, you can paint it red, you can do whatever you like with it, but it is a wheel. Open money is the space of all wheels. Any wheel you damn well like. It doesn't even have to be round, but the round ones go a lot better.
Right.
But open money is the context of many lets.
Okay. So now question 27. I've heard that Community Way was described as a transitional program, one designed to evolve relatively rapidly into open money. Is that assumption correct?
Not really. It's not. Community Way is going to go on for the next 100 years. Community Way is when community currency is donated to community projects, ventures, causes, and is converted into hard cash by people who buy it at $1 for $1 from those beneficiary organizations. That is never going to stop. As long as there is community currency moving and businesses are earning it and dispersing it again, they will include community donation, and people will convert on behalf of those charities, be they local or be they overseas, like malaria nets in Central Africa. You could start a program in Portland to fund malaria nets by local business donations that are converted by people who believe in that cause. Now, that is never going to stop. So Community Way, it's here forever, as much as anything else is. And therefore, it's not so much a transition as an introduction.
Okay. All right. So now question 26. In many countries, it seems that LETS has been relatively popular. My understanding is that in the U.S., it's been much more difficult to establish successful LETS programs. What are the primary obstacles for LETS becoming established and catching on in the United States?
U.S. citizens is probably the fastest answer to that. But beyond that, it's the IRS. And beyond that, it's the religious zeal with which the American culture believes in God and money, but not necessarily in that order. The Spanish Inquisition was the necessary, or rather inevitable counterpart of the Catholic Church at that time. The U.S. fetish around money is countered by the IRS as the equivalent of the Inquisition. And in our experience, the opportunity for the U.S. to get into community currencies was severely compromised by anxieties that people have about IRS. I think those anxieties are easily handled, but they've got to be handled directly. Every country has had its own cultural response to this. The Germans did it the German way, the French did it the French way, the Italians do it their way, the Japanese theirs, and so on. The Irish different from the British, different from the Finns, from the New Zealanders. Everybody does their own thing. So in the States, I think it is your history with money that is your main problem. And getting past that is going to be a bit of a challenge for a lot of you.
That's interesting. Okay. All right. So now we're moving into the Community Way questions. Question 25: is there only one chance to establish a revenue channel from any part of open money processes to support open money development? After the cat is out of the bag, what institutions and protocols are necessary to operate a global community currency network?
Well, the protocols are the key thing. What makes the Internet work is the TCP/IP protocol that ensures that servers can all speak to each other, even if they don't know what they're talking about. You put down the platform for the TCP/IP packet transfer process, and then somebody could be using it for video, some people could be using it for data, some people can be using it for text. Well, it's the protocol that holds it. Similarly here, a protocol that says when I want to transfer money to community money to somebody in another part of the world, they have an address, like an email address, it'll be their money address, and we have an agreement about which currency we're using. It's this currency XYZ from, it originated in the Pacific Northwest, and it's supposed to support trading up on down Cascadia, and I'm going to transfer 500 Cascadia dollars from my account to yours. That's it. That protocol, if it's across servers, makes the institutional layer almost transparent and certainly cost-free. There'll never be a necessity for centralized institutions to bear a major cost level of processing here. Pretty quickly, the processing level will be such that your cell phone will be a node on the network.
Fantastic.
So look for a hugely distributed network.
Great. So question 24. Why must a community way project be operated/coordinated by a partnership and not a nonprofit organization?
Well, it's the nature of enclosure or open edges, open permeable boundaries. Community way and open money are open ideas. They're in public domain. They're part of the commons. And as soon as you start an organization and say, we are doing this, there's a appalling tendency for that organization to think that it is owning the thing, it is responsible for it, that it is in charge of it. Now, there's no problem with there being a non-profit agency involved in the development and propagation of community way and open money in any community, but it must see itself as one of potentially many other organizations, some of them non-profits, some of them for-profits, some of them could be local governments, and many of them could be individuals, freestanding, self-contracting participants who say, I'm a developer of open money in Portland, and I'm participating with many others, and some of them could be non-profits. But you're not putting it all inside one box, because that's just not going to work.
Right. Okay. So question 23. What is meant by a business model for community way that can be accessed on the value of the development rather than the value of the end service?
Well, you're giving away the end service. There is no value in a commercial sense in the end service. It's one of those economic anomalies that it's so good that everybody will do it, so nobody could make any money out of it. You see, if you started to try and run an end value service, we are going to be the providers of community money to our neighborhood, and you will pay us for it. You will find very, very quickly that there are cheaper services providing exactly the same facilities, if not more, and you will be sidelined. You will be high and dry on your sandbank. So a business model that...
Sounds like kind of the problems that the hour system has struggled with.
Well, no, the hour system has struggled with so many problems that,
Right.
I mean, frankly, if you want to fly an airplane, put a wing on both sides. If you want a bicycle, remember to put wheels on it, and round ones are better than square ones. The problem with the hour system is institutional fiat. It's pure faith. You go from in God we trust to in ourselves we trust, except that nobody is ourselves. Nobody is responsible for anything. So yeah, there are issues, but in terms of open money, it's like, how much do you pay for your email these days? How much do you pay to put a twit up? It's not it doesn't happen that way.
That's a tweet, Michael. A tweet.
You tweet it up. Why did you tweet on Twitter?
Well,
I know. I think it should be a twit myself. But you guys missed part B of number 24, which I think is a really interesting question, and that is abiding by chaotic or bio-team principles for development.
Yeah, right. Just because that's the way of the world. Yeah, bioteam.net, is it? Yeah, I think it's bioteams.net. .com. No. All right. Well, bioteams anyway. A very, very florid site. Says everything that has to be said, really, about the creativity of biological mimicries and the impracticality of hierarchies for such a rapid, diffuse, and divergent process. Do not expect Microsoft to do well with this project.
Right. Okay. So then, but explain more about how is this a chaotic organization?
Well, it's about a common benefit that everybody can participate in without worrying about scarcity. Almost all of our financial and organizational institutions are about, we're going to build this thing, a bakery or a software development. We must own it and control it and gain revenue from it to recover for the cost we got to put in, etc. well, that's usually in a very limited competitive environment, and so people are forced towards that sort of anal asset retention model. But if there's a huge surplus around, if everybody who joins into this development process actually enhances the process for the other protagonists, then you've got a sort of a wildfire. You've got a post-critical reaction. Everything builds on builds. So what you've got to do is accommodate surplus, not scrape up the leavings and hide them under your bed, which is the conventional model for business development. So it's about dealing with surplus rather than scrambling for scarcity.
Interesting. Well, very good. Okay. Well, we have 10 minutes left. Am I right, Ernie?
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
No, 20.
Oh, 20?
No, you're right, 10. I was not reading my watch.
Actually, no, you're both wrong. There's only 9 minutes left.
Okay. So, I think the last questions that I have are something that we can possibly address at other shows, because I'm thinking, if there's anybody listening, this would be the best opportunity for them to call in if they have any additional questions. And, in the meantime, I could go into other updates that I have going on.
Well, there are other ways that they can connect too, but just in case there is somebody that wants to call in, it's toll-free in the U.S., 646-716-9424. Also on Twitter, there's hashtag Open Money. So anybody on Twitter can follow along and connect there. And there's an Open Money group on FriendFeed and also Ning. So there are many ways that people can connect. Also, Cascadia Commons, you've got a website, which is?
CascadiaCommons.org.
Okay. And ours is lets.net. And you can email us, too. Imagine that.
Actually, Colin, you've got another 6 or 7 questions in here, which I think it'd be useful to bash through really fast. Okay. So if I can just take those and I'll run these in the order that they were originated in. Okay. Number 16, primary source of, as you call it, working capital for open money projects. We'd call it revenue, and we'd say it comes from the businesses who have learned through your agency that recirculating money is a damn good idea and that giving it to charity is a very good way to start. And we expect that they will pay you a gesture, a tipping point, we call it. It's like the protocol is when you've had the meal, leave a tip for the waiter. Well, the open money development community is a bunch of waiters. They're out there serving this process. And when the businesses have found the benefit, I don't think they'll have any problem with facing an optional registration fee. And let's get it clear. There's no need for businesses to pay a fee to the open money development. They can just walk right around this thing and get on with it. It is open. So if you're making any money on this, it's because the businesses respect what you have given and contributed, and you reflect that respect by acknowledging you. And that's where the registration fee at 100 community way dollars per employee in a participating business is the recommended tipping point. Give some points to the people who tipped you off, Right. Now, your next question, who are contributors and what do they contribute? Listen, you either do something or you throw money. There's no great room for freeloaders, easy riders, bandwagon sitters on this deal. You're trying to start something, and it needs people to do groundwork, and it needs people to support them in doing groundwork. So the basic proposition for a contributor is that they're either willing to put in time and energy and skill, or they're willing to support those who are putting in that time, energy, and skill with resources. And that could be hard money. It could be soft money in various ways. It could be offices, services, servers, skills, equipment, advertising, who knows. How are contributors paid? Well, they're paid from this common resource of the tipping points that comes from the product of their labors. If they don't produce business participation, there is no revenue. So you're paid by your product. Financial backers, the usual role, lend money. Carry the cash risk in some way of putting this together. Now, we don't expect the banks directly to be lenders in this respect. We expect that they will require guarantees, collateralization, whatever. So we think that the most likely frame is maybe a dozen backers who say, I'm good for $1,000 of cover on a line of credit for your project. Then you've got $10,000 to draw in the bank because 10 people have said that they'll cover $1,000. Fronter, what is a fronter? Well, I go back to what is a changer. Next question. A changer is a person who can't actually put in much time. They can't be a contributor in that way. They can't even volunteer at the non-profit that's the beneficiary. So what they do is they buy the local money from the non-profit or from the development group, thereby putting hard cash to the road. They make the world work that way. And the changer is not undertaking anything apart from a restriction in their spending opportunities. They used to have 100 cash dollars, now they got 100 local dollars. The 100 cash went to the good works. The 100 local dollars is going back through the businesses as loyalty spending. From the changer's point of view, this should be pretty much a no-brainer. You're either up for it or you haven't got the point. And so that's what the changer does. And what a fronter does, a fronter is somebody who's changing before the event. They're essentially people who are contributing to the project itself by saying, I'm putting in cash now so that you can pay the phone bill, you can get the printing done, you can pay the this, that, and the other, the incidental expenses. And I expect you'll pay me back in community dollars when the show is actually rolling. So a fronter is basically, they're a contributor. They're in the center point, and they're explicitly putting in the financing on the grounds that they believe this is a good project and they have confidence that it's going to yield community dollars, which will be their recompense.
And on top of that, they can wait. I mean, they don't have to take it in community dollars. I mean, if they need to have the federal dollars returned, they can wait until there's enough of that change flow for them to be paid off.
Which turns them more into backers in a way. They're then basically saying they want to be in a reserve position and recover their hard money. Whereas a fronter is more specifically saying, I believe in this thing, man, I'm going off the diving board. They're getting in the pool with the rest of us.
Okay, so one question I wanted to ask that I didn't send to you earlier is what is an SFA, and then also how are revenues...
We can't do that. We can't do it in this last minute remaining. That's going to have to be for another. That's going to be for another show because it's a larger and it's a fairly large issue.
Well,
but there is one question. One question I can answer, which is number 22. How do lenders and banks contribute to community way? In what ways may a bank participate in community way? Call me. I will tell you. Any bank, any time, even the Federal Reserve. Get in touch.
Hey, Barack, you want to talk to Barack Obama?
Oh, well, I'd rather listen, but,
Well, no, let's say he called you up and said, Michael, how can we turn this thing around? Anyway, maybe that's the next show.
Yeah.
I'll call.
That would be a good show. All right.
It would be an interesting show.
I guess to everybody listening, there will be a part 2.
No doubt.
I just wanted to lastly say there are a lot of very interesting things going on here in Portland. And if you'd like to participate, please send me an email, cascadia.info@gmail.com.
How is that again?
Cascadia.info@gmail.com. Send me an email.
Okay, that's great. And I'm Ernie at openmoney.org, and Michael is MWL at openmoney.org. We'll see you out there in the internets.
Thank you very much, Ernie and Michael.
Thanks,
thank
Collin.
Great.
Yeah.
Bye, all.
See ya.